everybody. Welcome to the show tonight. Glad to have you on as a visitor or as a regular. Starting to get a lot of people tune in with us every week. It's going to be a good night tonight. J.D Crowe, legendary banjo player, he's going to be on tonight with us. And J.D. he's awesome, awesome friend, and I worked for him for 11 years and then went back for another year when we did a J.D. Crowe flashback band. And anyway, he's going to be calling in here later on. We're going to talk to him about a lot of stuff. So I hope that you guys will stay tuned in. And I want to mention a few things this week. I always talk about new things, but back over my shoulder, out above old Bill Monroe, you'll see a picture my wife got me. I'm into space real big, and that's a canvas picture of Neil Armstrong on the moon. So anyway, really like that kind of stuff. I always have. I'm trying to get a lot of things knocked out quick. Here's the item of the week. One of my favorite things. If you're a dobro player, hopefully sometime in your life you'll be blessed to be able to get a Bobby Poff strap. This guy makes the very best. Look at that. It's all hand done. A little horseshoe on it. See if I can get it up to the horseshoe. There's the horseshoe upside down, of course, because I'm holding it weird. But Bobby just makes the best straps ever. They're a little pricey, but I tell you what, if you ever get a Bobby Poff strap, it's the last one you'll need. And I'm blessed to have I think three or four of them. So anyway, let me get my ears fixed up. I wanted to throw in that punch there for Bobby. He's a great guy, great friend. Sorry about the phone beeping there. But JD will be calling us in a little bit, and we'll be doing some talking. But good to see a lot of you tuning in tonight for the show. I will mention or just talk to you a little bit before we go, a little bit more about JD. JD, he's always made his home in Lexington, Kentucky, and I remember, the days when they played at the Holiday Inn there at the Red Slipper Lounge. It was big time for music. And, JD and those guys, which we'll get into this when JD calls, but, they none of those guys had any idea of the history they were making when they were playing there. And then with the release of the 0044 album. We'll talk about that a little. I know a lot about that because me and JD has talked. And it was kind of funny. JD told me, well, we didn't, talk to him about how they planned it. And he just said, well, we needed to, knock this off here. I'm getting a little pop-up. JD told me, yeah, we just needed something to sell, and didn't realize how big that record would be when it came out. So it's funny how things are. You don't realize at the time you're doing stuff. But this album, the 0044, which is what a lot of us call it, it was on Rounder Records, and it was Tony Rice, Ricky Skaggs, Jerry Douglas, J.D. Crowe, Bobby Sloan, which Bobby passed away several years back, and we recently lost Tony Rice. So we will talk to JD about that. I want to talk to him also about Keith Whitley, for you folks who were Keith Whitley fans. JD will talk some about that, and we got a few questions and things for him. But I want you guys just to get to know him. He's a good guy, and a heck of a banjo player, and a great baritone singer, which a lot of folks, don't really know that because you're so caught with his banjo playing. But he's probably one of the best baritone singers in bluegrass, I think. And later on, I guess as he, aged a little, and his voice, it was a little harder for him to sing. He kind of dropped away from singing baritone and let other guys in the band do that. But JD was he was an awesome baritone singer, and I've been real blessed being in the band with him, and I bet that's him calling right now. Let me see. Nope, nope, that's not somebody else. But he'll be calling. I thought it was a little early for him because he's not supposed to call till he's gonna call in around 8:15. And anyway, JD, talk a little bit more about him. JD, I'll tell you a dobro playing story about him before we get him on the phone. When I first called him looking for a job, it was pretty funny because I had left a message on his answering machine back then. And anyway, finally he calls me back, and I'd never heard JD talk before, so his voice was totally different than what I expected. So we talked a little bit, and I told him I played dobro, and I was wanting to see about getting a job with him. And JD says, I never did like dobros very much. Said he just didn't care for them, and I just knew I was shot in the foot with that. And I asked him, I said, JD, or I guess I called him Mr. Crowe back then, Mr. Crowe or whatever. Why don't you like dobros? And he said, well, when Josh Graves came into the Flatt and Scruggs band, it knocked Earl Scruggs out of an extra banjo break. And I thought, yeah, that's usually like banjo players. They can do 10 or 15 breaks and be good with it. But then Crow kind of laughed a little bit, and he said, then Jerry Douglas came into the picture, and I really liked, what he played, and said I decided that I liked a dobro in the band. So when I heard him say that cheered me up a lot, knowing I may have a chance to play. And anyway, I went up and auditioned with him, and I had carpal tunnel real bad, and it was just getting worse, and I still have it really terrible in both hands. But back then, I opted to get surgery done. So before I did my surgery, I scheduled my surgery on Monday, and I went and played with him the Saturday before to audition, and took my tape recorder because, if I wasn't able to play after this, I at least wanted a tape of me playing with J.D Crowe. And I got that and had my surgery and came back, and it's funny. We talked after I'd been in the band probably 10 years. We're going down the road, and JD was talking about something. I don't remember what it was, and JD says, "Now, Phil, back when I hired you," and I stopped him and I said, "Wait a minute, did you say you hired me?" And he said, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, JD, that's the first I knew of that. You never have told me that I was hired. I just kept showing up every week." And he kind of giggled a little bit, and then Kurt, that played bass with us, told JD, said, "Well, JD, you've never hired me either." And JD just looked at him and he says, "Yeah, we're going to just keep it that way." But bass player had been playing with him like 3 years longer than me, so it was a lot of fun playing with JD all that time, and I never thought that it would turn into what it did, where I got to play with him so long and then get to be his friend. I mean, Crow's one of my best buddies, and when I've been dealing with this cancer, he's been one of the guys that's been there in my corner all along, calling me, checking on me, and stuff. But Crow's a serious guy, but he's a funny guy, very funny. He was a big practical joker when we played in the band. It was like a constant thing with him. He liked to pull little gags, like he would stuff toilet paper in people's shoes down at the end where you pulled your shoes on, and then you couldn't, once you did that, you had to jerk them back off because they about broke your toe. And here's something me and Crow did one time. Kurt uh, was well, me and Kurt were roommates on the road, and Kurt always had this pair of blue jeans that he wore, and Crow would always aggravate him. He'd say, "Kurt, I think you need to go up a couple of sizes on those," and Kurt would say, "Oh, I don't need to do that." And it was funny because Kurt was wearing them fairly tight. And anyway, me and Crow, we got together and figured this out. That I looked and found out what kind of blue jeans he was wearing, and I don't remember what size it was. But anyway, got the size, and I went to a thrift store and found a pair of jeans that was about four sizes smaller than what he wore. And JD was all in on this. JD loved it. So bring it. Put it in my bag, and we get to the hotel, and Kurt's loading his stuff in and everything like that. Well, he brings his clothes in, and immediately I get his blue jeans and hide them, and I put this pair up with the rest of his clothes. It's like four sizes small. And anyway, the next day, Kurt's getting ready. He's pulling his blue jeans on, and I hear him cussing and everything. And he comes in there laying down on the bed, and he's sucking in air trying to get these blue jeans on. They're just not going to fit. And he just can't figure, what's going on. And so anyway, Crow comes in, and Crow says, what you doing, Kurt? And Kurt says, nothing. I said, he's having problems getting these blue jeans on. JD, you warned him about this. And JD's trying not to laugh, but he was giggling a little bit. And Kurt says, I just don't know what happened with this, and I've not ate anything more than I normally do. And he said, I must have gained a lot of weight or something. I can't get these on. And he pulled on them, and finally me and Crow just started laughing about it. And I gave him his old pair back and took those. But that's the kind of stuff we used to do out on the road. And Crow's not innocent of any of this stuff because he loved to be a big prankster and stuff. And there was so much stuff Crow did. I mean that I can't even get into all the things. He had a briefcase full of gag gifts. I always had whoopee cushions, things like that. But the main thing was he carried cigarette loads back when they were safe, and he would always load Kurt's cigarettes up, and also Richard Bennett's, and they would blow up. And Richard got so bad when JD would load his cigarettes, Richard would go to light up a cigarette, and his hands would be shaking, and that cigarette would be flopping because he thought it might be loaded. And JD a lot of times wouldn't even mess with their cigarettes, but when they got ready to smoke one, JD would say something like, I don't know if I'd like that or not. I'd be careful. And immediately, Kurt would throw the whole pack away. And JD got where he would buy the same brand of cigarettes that Kurt smoked, which JD didn't smoke. But he would load up the whole pack of cigarettes. And since they were like Kurt's, when Kurt stopped to get gas, JD would pull two or three out of Kurt's pack and stick two or three of those loaded ones in there, and Kurt would be, sitting in the back seat or something, and all of a sudden you'd hear something blow up, and here was Kurt with a whole bunch of 4 and 5 letter words cussing JD. It was just funny, and Crow would sit there and giggle about all of it. But he's going to be calling us probably in about a minute or two, and we're going to talk a lot to him. But changing gears just a little bit, I hope everyone's had a good week. It's been kind of a weird week. Our weather's been up and down here. Today was supposed to be nice, and it was really cold. So I'm ready for spring, and I'm ready for the bluegrass festivals to get back around and stuff. I miss those crowds. I miss my friends that always came out to see us, and you just miss that. I don't know the word to say, but you just miss that air. The just everything around you when you could go to festivals and all and not have to think about it. It was just such a good feeling. And, I know a lot of us pickers, and I was included, took this for granted. And it's the same thing I did before I got sick with cancer. I took so much stuff for granted, and I got sick and couldn't do it anymore. And it was something I really missed. But anyway, I believe the man is calling. Let me check. J.D. J.D. Hello, can you hear me, buddy? Okay, okay. All right. You do what you want to. Yeah, you're on right now. I've been talking about you quite a bit, so well, I hope everybody can hear you. Yeah, we'll have to tell everybody about Benny here in a little bit because we yeah yeah we're not going to get into that much, but that's funny. But JD, I've been talking you up a whole lot tonight and telling people about few things we did and stuff, and but a lot of people's wanting to talk to you about, or not talk to you. They've asked questions. Wanted to find one of the first ones. I mean, we just lost Tony Rice, of course, and and a lot of people were wanting to know. I mean, I know the history on this, but wanted to know, how you met Tony and how he became a member of the New South. Mm-hmm. 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 Wow. Right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Hey, hey, JD. JD. Let me stop you 1 minute. I got a bad connection. I'm gonna have to do something. Can you guys hear JD now? Say something, JD. Oh, can you? Okay. Tell me again about how you met, brought Tony Rice into the band.
Introducing me to Tony and Larry both,
Right.
because Bobby was at the time was living in California, and Larry and Tony were, and his family were also living in California, and they'd been picking something together.
Right.
And Bobby was with the Kentucky Colonels, I think, or Golden State Boys. I can't remember which, but anyway, and of course they'd run into Tony and Larry and his family out there, and that's my first introduction to both of them.
Right.
And then when I needed a tenor singer and another mandolin player at the time, Doyle had left the band. We called Larry, brought him in, and then Larry, of course, had mentioned Tony and too. And like I said, my first introduction to Tony was I heard him with the Bluegrass Alliance, and that was my first introduction. And after I met him, and I know, and Larry had told me this also, but Tony had said, if you ever need a lead singer, we should give me a call. And so that's what I did, and the rest is history, as they say.
Well, let me ask you another question here. I had to unplug you, but everyone can hear what we're saying. tell me a little bit about how you guys got together to do the album, the 0044, and what kind of thinking was put into that when you did that?
Well, it's kind of hard to remember a lot of the things that happened. It's been a long time. And also, but, you know, we recorded, the New South recorded, and this was when Larry and Tony both, I had the very fortunate thing of Larry and Tony both working with me at the same time. And, you know, it's hard to work brothers because there's always that competitive thing there, you know. And but it worked great and for years. But we recorded an album that was kind of a cross between the country and bluegrass. And that's when I'd be using drums and electric bass, that type of thing. As you know, it was on Star Day. It was recorded in 1973. I think when that was done. And it was called Bluegrass Evolution. And but that was done, but it was not released. They held it up for some reason I don't know. And then see, when Ricky Skaggs joined the New South back in '74, he came. We were called in. Larry had left, so I'd hired Ricky, and he was out of a job at the time. He wasn't playing. He had left the Country Gentleman. So we agreed to come down and stay till he got ready to start his band, because he had told me when he hired in that he said, I want to start my own group. That'd be all right if you wouldn't mind. I said, well, no, come down and pick with me till you get ready. You know, just let me know. I said, meanwhile, we'll pick, maybe record something. And so that's how that came about. And then we decided to go ahead and record a record at the time. And that's how that came about.
Well, that record right there is, a lot of people say that's the best bluegrass album that has been recorded. And there have been a lot of them, but I agree that album is probably the one that made me want to play, made a lot of people want to play. And while we're talking about people like Tony Rice, great lead singers, can we talk just a few minutes about Keith Whitley and how he came in the band and everything?
Well, of course, I'd known Keith, and I'd watched him. I'd met Keith along with Ricky Skaggs back when they were with Ralph Stanley. And that's how I met those guys and got acquainted with them. And I always knew Keith was a great singer, and to be as young as he was. And but he had been with Ralph, and I think he had left Ralph once, and he came back. And I know we used to do a lot of festivals together, a lot of venues and festivals, especially in summertime. We would do quite a bit of them together on the same bill. And we'd always get together and talk and sit around and pick in the camper and that type of thing. And it was mentioned a couple times that he was getting ready to leave Ralph. And I said, well, what are you going to do, get your own band or what? He said, no, I don't know really. And I said, well, I'm probably going to be leading the lead singer for too long. If you'd be interested, I'd like to have you come if you're interested, And he had told me he'd kind of gotten tired of playing bluegrass. And he said, I want to do something a little different. And we kept on talking. He finally said, yeah. He said, one reason that I like your band is that you guys do a lot of different styles of music. You do some country stuff, you do some whatever folk stuff, you do bluegrass. And he says, I like that. Because I've gotten tired of doing all strictly bluegrass. So that worked out great for me because I was wanting to kind of change and do a little variety myself. And so that's how Keith got the job after he had left Ralph. And he joined me in late I think it was late '78, and stayed with me about 4.5 years.
Keith sure was not only in bluegrass but in country music one of the best singers I think that there has ever been. I mean, he definitely left a mark with so many people with his sound. I've just not heard anyone like him since. I mean, we don't hear that on the radio no more, and
You don't hear much of nothing on the radio anymore. And but no, Keith was he is a great singer. I call him a singer, and he was one of those that comes along in a lifetime. You don't hear that many. He and Skaggs are just natural musicians. They're natural singers, pickers, whatever. You just don't hear those kind much anymore. And and Keith is the kind of fellow that whatever song he did, it's like that was his main deal. If it's bluegrass, he made you feel it. If it was a country song, he made you feel it. I mean, whatever he did, he nailed it. That was it.
well, I think the time he spent in your band really helped him.
I think so. And there, that CD we did. Well, back then it was albums.
Right.
And but that's somewhere between outside of it, and that was probably why I did that. But I knew he wanted to do country, and I knew he was going to be leaving. I knew that wasn't going to last because he wanted to do straight country music, and I knew he could, and I knew he had a great chance of doing it because at that time, country music, they was making that cycle. It was kind of coming back, and Keith could flat do that style of music. And when I did that album, somewhere between, showcased him singing, that helped get his contract with RCA.
There's no doubt about that, and that was a great album. The 0044 is my favorite, but the one with Keith that you're talking about, that's probably my second favorite New South album. That was a great album. And go ahead.
No, I was going to say, it was two totally different albums, two different styles of music there, so you really can't compare them. But if you listen to them as an individual, yeah, I think you might could say that those albums, were a pretty good standard style of music on each genre of music.
There's no doubt about that, J.D. While we're talking about singing, I had somebody want to know about singing baritone, and if you could give any pointers on singing baritone.
Well, let's see. You could probably stay half horse a lot and swallow sandpaper and that kind of thing, and you learn to sing baritone. But you have to hear, no, really. What you have to know, you got to know your lead part. You got to be a lead singer. You got to be able to sing lead to the song. You got to hear the tenor part, and you hear the middle part. Now, to me, I sung that part because I couldn't sing lead real good, and I couldn't sing tenor. So it wasn't nothing else but one in between.
Right.
So I started learning baritone. Now, baritone is a hard part. It was for me to learn it, to hear all those different parts, because it switches a lot. And it's according to what kind of material you're doing. It's according to who's singing in the band. It's how you rehearse and work it out, But
exactly.
Baritone, once I started learning it, and Jimmy Martin was a big help for me on that. He showed me how, because Jimmy could sing lead, baritone, and even tenor, and even a little bass, as high as his voice was, because he knew the parts. And he showed me a lot about that, on how to do that. And you just have to hear that part like I said, it's not an easy part because there's a lot of switching on you can do, a lot you can do with it.
You know, there was when I first come into your band, there was a lot of songs that people around town were playing. A lot of the New South material because they had got that 0044 album, and I remember, you know, of course, people that would do the songs, they never sounded like what you guys were doing, but there was always something in the harmonies that didn't sound right when you'd hear other bands do this. And when I started playing with you, I learned so much stuff that why songs didn't sound the way you guys were doing it, not only because of the talent, but you guys crossed so many lines with your harmony, and people didn't realize, you know, that this line crossed and all that. And I think that was a big thing with your singing.
Yeah, and that, you know, and speaking, you know, of doing baritone, that comes with experience. You have to learn that. You have to rehearse that kind of thing because it's not just a straight singing. It is a lot of, like you said, it's a lot of crossovers. In other words, I may jump to a tenor note or two or a line even, and the tenor would go above that, which would be high baritone, and then or either I may drop down and catch the lead notes and let the lead singer do the switching. I mean, I stated when Doyle Lawson, myself, and Larry Rice and Bobby were together, that's where all that started. We did that a lot more than Tony and Ricky and myself did. We didn't do it as much. We did some. But Doyle and Larry and myself, because a lot of people don't know this, but between Larry and Tony and myself, I always said they wasn't a good lead singer between us. But you put us together for harmony, and we was hard to beat on that deal. And that, of course, that's what we prided ourselves on, was getting it together. And most people don't know this, but I sung most all the lead when Doyle and Larry and myself were together. I sung the lead, Doyle did the tenor, Larry did the baritone. Now, Larry, you talk about baritone singing, Larry was a good baritone singer. I mean, I think he probably knew better than I did, because he could get lower, he had a lower octave voice than I did. And that's why I sung lead, Doyle tenor, or if Doyle sung the high lead, I would sing the part under Doyle, which was pretty high in spots, and Larry would do the lower baritone, and sometimes straight lead in there. And I would do the tenor over Larry, and Doyle would be doing high baritone over me. So that was the way that Doyle and Larry and I sung the whole time we were together.
Well, you know, I never thought Larry got the attention that he needed. I mean, Larry was such a great singer on parts, and I just never felt he got the attention that he needed.
Right. Yeah, you're probably right. He also never got the. He was very underrated as a mandolin player in my books.
Oh yeah.
Larry was a great mandolin player. I mean, you couldn't play nothing that he couldn't play. I mean, he was there. Any key, didn't matter. It didn't matter how fast or how slow. I mean, he could cut it. And, Larry was one of my favorite musicians I've ever had.
Yeah, I'm the same way with Larry. I think he was great, and I always loved. I never got to know Larry till later on, but great guy, man. A really great guy. But
yeah, and then of course Tony was there. I'd say probably I've played with a lot of good rhythm players. Of course, I worked with Jimmy Martin, which at the time probably the best ever at that time, and of course I love Lester Flatt's rhythm player, and of course Clarence White's rhythm playing, Dale McCurry's rhythm playing. I mean, there's a lot of, but Tony's rhythm was his picking was outstanding, that's for sure. But I loved his rhythm because Tony put such emphasis on the rhythm patterns. And And that was, boy, I love that because that's my deal. I like a good, solid rhythm in the band. And Tony could flat lay it down.
Well, yeah, you have to have that. I mean, you have to have that and a good solid bass. If you have a good solid bass and good rhythm, you've got it pretty much, I think.
That's right.
Hey,
You gotta have it. You gotta have it.
you really do. Not changing subjects, but Jerry Keys and Susie said to tell you hello.
Well, you tell them I said hi. In fact, I probably need to call them. I haven't talked to them for a while.
Yeah, he's a good one. Hey, I'm not gonna keep you too long tonight, JD, but got a couple of things that I want to talk to you about. Now, one of them come from your boy David tonight. So
Okay.
here's what David wants to know, and he said, back when we all played together, we always used to tease you about burying mason jars full of money in the yard, and
I suppose he asked you if you knew where they were.
he did. He
Okay.
David told me, he said, see if you can find out where Dad buried the mason jars because I need some money for gas. So I laughed. I told him I'd ask you about that.
Yeah, in case anybody's wondering, you and I used to joke about that a lot.
We did. We did. The mason jars were a funny thing, but I had to actually flip you over to the phone a little while ago because I'm still having a problem getting my cables hooked up, but we're working good. I've told a lot of people about not only when I first met you, when I first saw you, I saw you with Glenn Lawson and Goodrow down at the Coliseum years ago, and I saw how serious you looked. It scared me to death, and yeah, you look pretty serious, JD, and after I got to
Well, I was, no doubt.
oh yeah, after I got to know you, I knew you had a funny side to you, and I was telling people that me and you used to we loved Beavis and Butthead, and
Oh, yes.
and I
Still do.
oh yeah
Still do.
I've told people about going to my room at night and it would be 2 in the morning, my phone would ring and you'd be calling doing a Beavis impersonation, and you'd come over to the room and hang out and we'd watch Beavis and Butthead till probably
Yeah.
3 or 4 in the morning.
Yeah, I'd have him on my TV. I'd come over and knock on your door, see if you had it on. You'd say no. I said, well, turn it on. They're on. Then we'd sit there watching till daylight.
That was some good times, man, we had. But
Great times, buddy.
it really was. I want to say just a couple of things about, and then I'll let you go. But about when we played together, we had a lot of fun out there. Different people coming through and stuff. But
Oh, yeah.
I had as much fun running up and down the road as I did picking, and we always had a good time out there. And
Well, think about us. We had a lot in common.
Yep.
Because we liked old cars. We'd stop. I remember, of course, I loved old vehicles, these hot rods and all this stuff.
Right.
And custom cars. And we'd pass a car show, and I remember every time. That's why I always wanted to leave early enough so we had time to stop.
Right.
Something like that. And but any time that we passed, I remember we'd always pull off and stop.
Oh yeah.
And we'd stop at flea markets.
Yeah, I remember that.
Oh yeah.
I remember one time you took us to a flea market, and we went in and walked around that flea market, and you was looking for a whoopee cushion, and you found it. You remember that?
I do. Hey, in fact, I've got 2 of those still left.
Do you really? Well,
I've still got 2 of them.
Do you still have cigarette loads?
I do, but nobody smokes no more.
Gosh, you had poor old Richard Bennett so nervous. He had to quit the band.
You know, I've always been a kind of a prankster. You know, I've
Always.
got a kick. I guess that after my grandfather.
Right.
He was good at that.
Oh yeah.
And anyway, but you know, I had more fun out of them little 39-cent cigarette loads. And you know, I used to find them, and I'd buy every one they had, just about.
Oh yeah.
Because they never place carry them. And they'd be on little cards sticking up on the counter there. And I'd buy every one of them. And I think I wound up, at one time, I must have had 200 or 300 of them little tins.
Wow.
I gave a lot of them away, too. But you remember, I mean, there was, well, everybody, of course, poor Bobby Sloan, he got it pretty bad. I'd get him. Of course, you didn't smoke. I had to resort to doing something else to you.
Oh, you did.
And of course, like I said, there's Richard Bennett. He smoked. Well, I got him good. Kurt smoked. Jimmy Goodrill smoked. Most everybody did back then. Keith Whitley smoked. And I'd get them guys, but now they got me too, because I smoked them little Have a Tampa Jewel cigars with the wooden tip on them.
Oh yeah.
You know, but it was fun. I mean, nobody got hurt. You know, no harm was meant.
No.
Just a lot of fun. And there's one thing about the New South, and I usually, when I hired somebody in new, I said, if you can't take a joke, you won't last long in this band.
Right. Well, there was a lot of that. We did so much joking around and stuff, and I remember you used to, when Kurt used to wear the boots, you used to pack the ends of them full of toilet paper where he couldn't get his feet all the way in. Remember that?
Yes, I did. I about forgot about that, but yeah, you're right. I did. Anything I think of like that, I'd do it. You know, I would buy stuff. We'd stop at these hobby shops, if you remember, and get all these tricks.
Oh yeah.
And all this stuff.
Sure.
And I'd come outside, I'd spend a ton of money on just garbage, really. But they were fun. I knew I was going to have a lot of fun with them. And it was worth it to me to do it.
Oh yeah. No doubt about it. We had a lot of good time, but now before I let you go, because I've kept you a while, will you tell everybody about the new banjo you've got that you've been looking for?
Oh, you mean the one I've just latest acquired?
Yeah, the one you searched for forever.
It's just an old banjo. You know, it's a banjo that I've wanted. I tried to buy in the late 70s, even into the early 80s, and I never could get it. The boy would not price it. The man would not price it at all. And in fact, it wasn't for sale at the time, but I tried. I kept on, but I finally let it go, and it surfaced here a while back, and I did wind up getting it. And it's one I've always wanted. And actually, it's I'll give just a brief history on it. It's there was only 5 of them made. There was 5 Granados made, 5 strings, actual real 5-string banjos, and they came out of the Gibson factory. And like I said, there was 5. There was 1 through 5. You know, and Sonny's has got number 2, mine's number 3, or Earl's is number 3, and number 4 and 5, I know where they are. And I've played all of them, and I've got number 1. That's the one that I wanted.
You deserve having that banjo, J.D.
It's kind of ironic if you think about it. You know, that's something that I tried to buy that long ago and could never get, and it finally made the cycle, and I was able to get it even though I was retired.
Yeah.
But I still got it because that was the one I wanted.
Oh,
you
sure,
know,
sure,
and,
sure. Well,
but you know, it's but you know, like I've always said, it's the man playing the instrument. It's the main thing.
there's no doubt about that, JD. I mean, and
Instrument, it's great to have a good instrument, but a man's got to know how to play it.
exactly,
He's got to be able to get the tone out of that instrument that it's got.
exactly, exactly. Well, you always had what everybody called the thumb, and
Well, there's a lot of good pickers out there, and a lot of good banjo players, and
there is.
everybody does their own thing, and nobody's alike. Thank goodness.
No.
You know.
Well, buddy, there'll only be one like you, JD. That's just the way it is. You and Earl Scruggs.
Stand another one.
Well,
but anyway.
but
We could go on and on. I'm sure you're. My time. I've got plenty of time, but I know you can just talk so long.
oh
And,
yeah. Well, JD, it's been great having you tonight on the show and stuff, and I had a good time coming up and seeing you here a few weeks back, and I'm gonna do that again soon because David.
I hope so.
Whoops.
Bring Ken up too.
I'll do that. And
Bring Ken. Yeah.
well, before we go, one question for you. This isn't a big stumper, but if it was snowing real bad and White Castle was a mile away and Denny's was 2 miles away and Waffle House was 10 miles away, which restaurant would you go to?
Well, then it's going to what I wanted to eat.
Well, yeah, that's. Would you?
See, but now if it's breakfast or something, I go to Waffle House.
So you go 10 miles and pass the hamburgers, right?
Oh yeah, it don't matter. I'd probably drive 10 miles to either one of them.
Oh, well, no, I was saying if you was walking and you didn't have a car.
Oh, well, I'd probably go to the closest one, whatever that would be.
Well, that's true, buddy. I miss you, JD, and it's always.
You too, buddy. And we've got to do this again sometimes.
Oh yeah, we do, man. We do.
We've got a lot of information we could put out there, and people don't have a clue.
Yeah.
Of what we did.
Oh, it was good times. I was there 11 years with you, buddy, and we had a lot of fun. But I'll let you go. Tell Cheryl, hey, and I'm gonna get out of here. Right. And everybody's enjoyed you, bud. Okay.
You take care.
Too, JD. See you, buddy.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. All right. I'm sorry about the way we had to do this. Now, my system was working today, and then when I went to plug in, none of you guys could hear him, so I had to go to this, and I hated doing that, but I'll have it worked out. I don't know much about this stuff. Yeah, I'm a musician, and I'm still learning the computer stuff. Hey, Stuart Wyrick. But we've got a lot of people on tonight. I hope you guys continue to come back because I'm going to try to have somebody big every week. I don't know if we'll have anybody as big as JD, but we're going to probably have some folks that are pretty huge in bluegrass that we can get. And that's going to be my plan, to get my system all fixed where it works right, and it'll be a lot easier. I won't have to keep raising my arm and having you miss things that JD had to say. But JD's as you guys just heard, he's a funny guy and he's a cool guy, and he did so much stuff just like we talked about. Hey, Paul Brewster, good to see you, and Darrell Webb, there you go, good to see you all. So much stuff that he did that is so much history that JD and those guys were just doing it and didn't realize. And I'll tell you something about the 0044 album. I may have mentioned at the front of the show, but my brain don't work. But we talked about that album a lot going down the road because that album influenced so many people and it still does. And I asked JD, what were you guys thinking? I tried to get him to talk about that, and he probably missed my point. But we talked one time about what went into that. That's one of the greatest albums that's ever been done, and what went into that album. And I was waiting for JD to give me some story like we worked and we planned this out. JD says I just went in. We just needed something to sell, so that's how that album happened. And imagine just going into making something to sell, and it becomes one of the greatest bluegrass albums ever made. And I'm not done yet here tonight, but I'm seeing some people here that I want to say hi to. Darrell Webb said he had some of the best times playing with JD and me, and having Darrell Webb in the band, which he's with the Appalachian Road Show now. But me and Darrell had a band called Wildfire with Robert Hale, Kurt Chapman, and Barry Crabtree. And Darrell's one of them guys that's so funny because he can impersonate everybody, and he was just Darrell was so much fun. Darrell, good to see you on tonight. Rick Caldwell, my good buddy, just popped up, and also Jerry Keys. Jerry, thanks for tuning in. JD, thanks the world to you, and you know that. But I want to talk just a little bit more. We've got a few more minutes, but a few more things about JD. I wanted to bring him on because I knew, JD's one of those guys that he's kind of a little reluctant to do interviews, but when he does, it's hard to make him stop. He really likes people, and I'll tell you a story on him. Let me stop for a minute. Paul Brewster says 0044 best Sally Gooden ever, real feel, and they know it. And Paul Brewster, Paul plays with Ricky Skaggs now, and he's been with Ricky as long as Ricky's been with Ricky. And Paul's one of the greatest tenor singers in the world. He really is. My buddy Doug Klein from Knoxville Grass, I want to say hey to him. But what I wanted to say about JD, it's a little funny. We played up in Maine one time, and we had a long trip back. I mean, it's going to be a long night. And JD's like this. JD, he finds a friend, and he's there. So we loaded up. We sat in the car. We thought he was on his way out, and he kept waiting and waiting. Well, I go in to tell him, hey, JD, we got to run. And he's in there talking to a custodian about cleaning floors. So we get back in the car, and JD says, yeah, I'm on my way out. We sat there about another hour, and we go in, and he and the custodian, at this point now, they're sitting down drinking coffee. And he never knew this guy, but he's just treating him like a friend. And JD was like that. JD comes off with a different edge sometimes that people take as being just so serious or what. Now, I will tell you one thing. When JD hits the stage, he's serious as you would ever ask for about playing. No doubt about it. But on stage, JD would do little pranks. He would come over behind you or something and say something funny in your ear or something like that. And one funny thing we did one time at Bean Blossom, we did a song called Born to Be With You. It's a pretty fast tune, and it's got a big bass slap part in it where all the music stops. So we had a plan when Kurt started slapping the bass. Bean Blossom had 2 doors to leave the stage. We was going to sneak off stage. So anyway, Kurt, his slap part's only probably 5 to 10 seconds, okay? And slapping a bass is pretty hard. It wears you out. So we do Born to Be With You, and here comes the slap. Well, what I do is I start walking off stage, and about the time he looks at me, JD, and I think it's Greg Luck, they leave the stage, and I leave the stage. And Kurt's out there slapping, and we leave him out there slapping for about 2 minutes. And you can just see his arms about to fall off, and then we come back out and save him. JD's laughing. But see, this is things JD put us up to. JD love playing tricks on everybody. So anyway, it's good to have him on the show tonight, and I always learn a little bit. I didn't realize that JD sung the lead on a lot of stuff, but I knew he was very capable of doing that. I mean, he's such a great baritone singer, and I always learn stuff every time I hear him talk. I mean, he's got a huge history of things he's done, and JD is just the coolest. He's the coolest ever, I think. But I always try to leave with something inspirational, and tonight I'm going to leave with something like this. I don't care what side you're on in politics, whether you're on the left or whether you're on the right. We're all friends somewhere in the middle. I've never talked to a friend of mine or anybody, and talking people that I think so much of, and I've never talked to any of them and said, hey, what are you? You left or right? And find out, there's something I don't agree with, and get rid of them. I don't do that. I think politics should be a separate thing of what your friends are, because friends are like this. If your car breaks down at 2 in the morning, good friend will come and get you, and I don't care whether they're right or left. I don't matter. It just does not matter to me in friendship. So treat your friends good. Pray for your friends this week. Pray for the country. But I'm not a political person. I'm not that at all. I know it's important. Politics are important, but I'm not somebody that constantly dwells on that or thinks someone is less educated if they're this or that. I've never been like that, and I know when we play music, our crowds are full of Democrats and Republicans when we play music, and I love them all. I want to play good music for them. I want them all to come to our shows. I want us all to be one, some way or another. Be one person, be one friend, and I just think that makes a big difference when you take all that out. You look at young kids; they get out and play and have such a good time playing with each other, and they have no idea what politics are. Kids don't know that stuff, so it's all. I'm your buddy and you're my buddy. We can still be like that. We can be friends. We can disagree, but we still need to, be friends with each other and be kind to each other and pray for each other. I just think it's important. And I've got so many friends on the left that I just love so much, and I've got so many on the right that I love so much. And I'd fight you for either one of them. I mean, I'm telling you, that's just the way it is. Always keep your friends. Don't lose them over something like politics or whatever, because a friend is someone. If you run them off or what, you'll be saying one day, I sure miss so and so, and that's just the way I look at it. That may not be right, but I just always say be good to your friends and put politics aside. Let's think about music. Music's one. The people listen to bluegrass. It's one. We're all one group and one person when we go to these bluegrass festivals and we go up and play music. So hopefully as the festivals come back in and we get to play again and everything, it's going to be fun to get together and pick music and jam and all that stuff. That's things I've been missing with this COVID, and I'm hoping it'll get knocked out pretty quick, because we need to be able to get back and do things that we love to do, and that's pick music and get all the stressful things behind us. And bluegrass festivals do that because you get to be out there with your buddies hanging out, and I'm just looking forward that we can do that again real soon. And remember, I won't run a lot of people off with this, but I hope not. But please wear a mask. I know you don't have to, but there's a lot of people out there in the community that are high risk, and I'm a high risk, and lots of other people, and you know, when I go to dialysis, I have to wear a mask for 4 hours, and the nurses have to wear a mask for 12. So it shouldn't be a big problem to throw one on. And if you need to run in a grocery store, I know they're uncomfortable, but if you run in a grocery store for 10, 15 minutes, that's not too big of a deal to have to throw on a mask if, you know, people are wearing these things all the time. Sometimes we just have to do things to help, and masks do help. I can tell you that from being a former nurse and also being around medical folks almost, well, 3 to 4 times a week. Masks do help, and I hope you'll think about that. I'm not telling you have to, just think about it a little bit. And send up again prayers for all your friends and for our country, and send up prayers for Doug Klein, because he's a drummer, and he's on there tonight listening to us. He's wrote a couple of times, and Doug's a great drummer. He was the only drummer I knew that could play bluegrass. He played with the Knoxville Grass Thumb. So anyway, I want to say good night to everyone. God bless. I'll see you next week, and I'll have somebody else here as a guest. I don't know who it'll be yet, but I'm going to find somebody, and we're going to have this like every week. So have a good night. Take care. God bless. We're out. See you next week.